quarterfinals are set on the men's and women's side at the U.S. Open, and they have some amazing matchups. We just saw Jannik Sinner put on an absolute showing versus American favorite in that match, Tommy Paul. I mean, Tommy Paul didn't do anything wrong, and Jannik Sinner looked scary good, as well as Daniil Medvedev also looked freakishly good as he destroyed his opponent today. So we're going to look at those matches that got these guys to the quarterfinals, and then we're going to look at the quarterfinals matchup primarily with Sinner taking on Medvedev. Some of them call it the de facto final. Two best players left in the draw, and they're playing in the quarterfinals at the U.S. Open. We're going to break it down. That's what we do here on The Slice, presented by Betway. Let's get into it. All right. Do you listen to podcasts? We have a podcast here on The Slice. It's called The Slice Tennis Podcast, and I host it with my friend JP Hovey, who's hilarious, and we've been doing it every week. We got a new show coming out tomorrow, so if you can do us a favor and go to your Apple Podcast or Spotify, find us, search The Slice Tennis, and subscribe to our podcast. It's one of my favorite things to do. Hour long, we spend more time talking about the big topics, the funny topics, smash or pass, and it's a good intro to what we do behind the scenes here at The Slice. So thanks for doing that. Thanks for subscribing as well. And before we get into what happened tonight in, I would say, the best match of the fourth round, shout out to Betway. This is best bets of the day presented by Betway. I'm not going to suggest any picks because I've been terrible this week or this tournament. But if we're just looking ahead to the men's quarterfinals, we've got three of the odds here, and they are all pretty tight. Taylor Fritz versus Alexander Zverev. Zverev is the slight betting favorite at minus 182. And Dimitrov versus Francis Tiafoe. Dimitrov is the slight favorite at negative 154. Tiafoe's at plus 125. I think that might be a little bit of good action there because Tiafoe's got that home crowd and energy. And then on Wednesday, they got the odds up for Jack Draper versus Alex de Minaur. They have got, it also looks like they've just changed it, so maybe they don't actually have it. Or wait, okay, we're just going to go with those two for now. So those are the odds. If you're going to bet responsibly, use Betway. Shout out to them for sponsoring the show. Okay, Jannik Sinner, man. I mean, this guy, to me, reminded us all of why he's world number one, especially on hard courts. I talked about in the last show how Zverev might be the favorite to win the tournament now because he doesn't have to play Medvedev or Sinner. He's on the bottom half, but Sinner looked scary tonight. Tommy Paul played what I would consider a great match versus Jannik Sinner. He started out the match better than Sinner. Sinner had a ton of unforced errors on the forehand side, and Tommy got out to a double break 4-1 lead. I've been there before. I was there this week. When I was playing tennis, you can lose it, which Tommy Paul did. Sinner was able to break back twice, and then they went to a tiebreaker, and Sinner played a better tiebreaker. So at the end of that set, Tommy's thinking, I was up, Sinner came back. That sucks. But then they play another great set. Second set, they stay on serve the whole time, get to a tiebreaker. Tommy fights off a few break points, I believe, in that set. But they get to a tiebreaker, and Tommy plays a better tiebreaker, and he's up mini break. I believe he was up 5-4 or 5-3 even at one point. And then Sinner got one back with a good rally, and then Sinner had 2 points on his serve, and he did two kick serves into Tommy's backhand, and Tommy missed both backhand second serve. These are both on second serve returns, and then Sinner hit a massive forehand on the one set point that he got on the Paul serve, and that was all she wrote. So Tommy Paul sitting there is like, I played two good sets. I did so much right. I made only a few mistakes on big points. And now I'm here down 2-0 to love, and it's been like 2.5 hours. And then Sinner just turned it up even further from there. From the baseline, was just bigger from the baseline, was just really too good tonight. That one point, Sinner going out wide and kind of slapping the ball across court to get another break, I believe. You actually saw Sinner change the grip of the racket. So it wasn't like a typical forehand where he hit it. He kind of had it more straight up and down and just slapped at it. And it's usually guys go down the line when they're stretched out like that, but he turned his wrist even more and went cross court and surprised Tommy there, and he got pace on it. And that was just crazy. And that was kind of like a cumulative show of what Cinder did tonight. He started a little slow and then he got really, really good. And you're remembering why he's only lost 2 matches on hardcourt all year. So, yeah, the kid is nasty and he's world number 1 for a reason. And he's on the hard courts here feeling good. And I think these conditions suit him. It's maybe taking a while for him. He won Cincinnati, but I don't even think he was playing his best there. And these conditions, these balls, he seems to have gotten a better handle on them, how to hit them. His coach, Darren Cahill, told me in Montreal that these balls fly. And Sinner actually likes a more dead ball because he likes to hit it, was his words. And he's found out how to do that now for sure because he was hitting it today. So let's look at how we got here on the top half of the draw, which went down today. We'll bring up the scores here. In total, Jessica Pegula beats Schneider 6-4, 6-2. And then Medvedev destroys Ninu Borges in an hour and 51 minutes, 6-0, 6-1, 6-3. So that's just crazy good from him. I have not actually recapped the time on court for both guys so far before this, which is something I was hoping to do, but that playing only an hour 51 there is going to be great for Medvedev's energy into the next match. Sinner didn't play too long, but I would say it was a physical match for sure. Swiatek beat Samsonova 6-4, 6-1, 6-3, 6-3, 6-3. Muchkova over Paolini. That was an upset today, but fairly straightforward. And then Jack Draper also crushes Machak 6-3, 6-1, 6-2. So a lot of kind of dud matches today. I would say Bella Haddad Maya and Wozniacki was a good match. Haddad Maya coming through that. And Demon Hour John Thompson was a bit of a weird one with Demon Hour coming through kind of expectantly in that. So really the big good match from today, and I would say the best match in the 4th round was Tommy Paul versus Jannik Sinner. And Sinner wins 81% on his first serve against the great returner. Only got 49% of his first serves in, so maybe he was going really big. He was winning a high percentage on both serves. Got 80% of the points at the net one, and had 14 break points. Only actually converted 4 of them. So great performance from Sinner today. He actually hit more on forced errors than winners. I think he was just going pretty big. He was trying to really bully Tommy around, and Tommy did a great job of not getting bullied around for most of the match, but in the end, it was just too much. So let's look at the draw here to show a bit of the structure of how we got here. So if you go back to the 4th round, Sinner takes out Paul in 3. Medvedev takes out Borges in 2. In 3 super easily. Draper goes through in 3 super easily, and they got Demon Hour. So now you got in the quarterfinals total on the men's side, you got Jannik Sinner versus Daniil Medvedev. That's a huge matchup, obviously, for reasons we know. Both guys have won majors. The only 2 major winners left in the draw, and they're playing each other. Jack Draper versus Alex de Minaur. Huge opportunity for these guys to make a semifinal at the U.S. Open. Jack Draper is the 25th seed coming in, playing a great tournament, looking like a creamsicle. We'll show his outfit here. I roasted it on Twitter. What do you guys think of it? This is actually a picture where it makes him look crazy, but the outfit looked pretty good, I think. But yeah, big opportunity for Draper and de Minaur there. And then on the bottom, as we've covered, Fritz comes to Casper Ruud. Zverev comes to Nakashima, both in 4. And that's going to be a huge match. Zverev, I still think is the favorite in that match, but Fritz, Fritz can definitely bring it, and that's going to be a huge hitting match and a huge match for the American crowd, obviously, as they got 2 Americans on the bottom half of the draw, and then you got Dimitrov versus Tiafoe. So let's preview Sinner versus Medvedev first. So to me, this is just one of the best matchups on the ATP Tour right now for sure. You've got 2 of the cleanest ball strikers, kind of in different ways on tour, going at it, and they've on hard courts they've been 2 of probably arguably the best players, the top 2 players on hard courts in the last 4 or 5 years. Obviously Djokovic is right there, currently not, We saw these guys play in the Australian Open final. The story there was Medvedev had spent way more time on court than Sinner, and Medvedev got it to his 2-set to love lead with his with huge play, and then Jannik Sinner was able to reel him back in and overcome him. But then at Wimbledon this year, Medvedev reversed the trend. Sinner had won 5 matches in a row in their head-to-head after Sinner had started out, or Medvedev had started out the head-to-head with 6 in a row. So it's been massive swings, and Medvedev won in 5 sets at Wimbledon, playing a great performance, taking out the world number 1 at Wimbledon, which was great. So yeah, that was interesting. And how is that going to play into their match here at the US Open? I was trying to look through the stats on their match using Tennis Abstract, and there's really not much. Sinner won, for example, Sinner won the Australian Open match, winning 73% of his first serves, and he lost the Wimbledon match, winning 80% of his first serve, which kind of is crazy. He's won matches with a super high first serve percentage. He's won matches with a super low first serve percentage. This is just going to be a super tight match, I think. It's really hard to call this one based on stats or what each player has to do. The one thing I think that is going to help Medvedev in this matchup with these conditions is the balls. He told me personally in Montreal that he really likes these balls, and then he subsequently went on to lose early in Montreal and first round in Cincinnati. But obviously he's done a lot better here in the US Open, working his way into the tournament. And from the aggression and the cleanliness that I saw him play with today as he dispatched Burgess today, and a few other players, he really seems to be having control of these balls now. As the balls don't respond to spin as well, they're lighter, and he seems to have found his range with them. So I think that'll help the lighter balls will help his serve. So his serve, apparently the balls don't fluff up as much. They stay harder and they fly. So his serve could be deadly. If he has a good serving performance, that can really be an area in the matchup where he has a bit of an advantage over Sinner potentially. And he feels like he can get more pace and more out of the balls when he's hitting it flatly than other times. So is that going to help him have more power behind his game and be more aggressive when he needs to be in the match? Sinner, on the other hand, seems to have found his range with these balls as well and has been able to crush it. He was missing his forehand a bunch against Tommy Paul at the beginning, but he found it. So if he can play big like that, will it be similar to the Australian Open where Sinner has more strength from the baseline over the long haul, over 5 sets? I don't know, because we have, I think, just looking at it, Medvedev has not spent a ton of time on court. And I don't have the numbers in here. Apologies again. But I will be able to, I don't think I'll even be able to see it on here. Medvedev doesn't say time on court here. That would be super clutch. Well, they got us 4 matches here. So they got 2.5 hours versus Lajovic, 2 hours versus Marozsan, 2 hours versus Kaboli, hour 15 versus Burgess. So to be fair, he's had extremely easy run to the quarterfinals. I would say, Kaboli was, pretty tough, but he didn't play his best, and Medvedev played lights out. So literally he's essentially spent 2 hours, maybe 8.5 hours on court total in 4 rounds. That's about as minimal as you could get in as far as time on court. And now we're looking up Sinner's time on court in his 4 matches: 2 hours 24, 1 hour 39, 1 hour 53, 2 hours 42. So very similar time on court between the two guys. That shouldn't be an issue. They should both be fresh. They should both be clean, ready to go. And it's going to be an absolute dogfight. So I don't know how to call that one. I think that one's too close for me to call. I don't really have any reason to pick either one of them. I was going to do maybe a prediction video, but this one's not it. This is a quarterfinal. We usually reserve those for semifinals or finals. So stay tuned for that. But for now, I'm just going to say that's going to be a great matchup. You're definitely not going to want to miss Sinner versus Medvedev. Okay, who is next? Next, we got de Minaur versus Draper. And now for Draper, he's been playing great. He's got a huge game, and de Minaur can counterpunch with anyone and make you sweat and suffer. So I'm almost leaning de Minaur in this one because of the matchup there. Draper can play huge and play great, but he's physically, stamina-wise, and movement-wise not really on the same level as de Minaur. So unless Draper can play really big and really aggressive and just execute on a game plan where he takes it to de Minaur, it's going to be tough for him, I think. If de Minaur can keep the ball in front of him and keep moving and keep making Draper hit more shots, I think we might see more errors from Draper, and we might see de Minaur wear him down a bit. So I'm leaning de Minaur in that match. Draper, great tournament so far. Quarterfinals, that's a good result. And yeah, de Minaur, great opportunity to get to the semifinals after being out with injury after Wimbledon. So huge tournament from him. If he can get through Draper, it's not going to be easy. And then we got Zverev versus Fritz. I'm leaning Zverev because he's the 4th seed. He was in the final of the French Open. And yeah, like I said, he was looking absolutely animalistic. But if the match gets tight and the American crowd is behind Fritz, I can see that getting to Zverev and Fritz finding a way to come through that. So it's definitely not clean, but I'm leaning Zverev, but don't sleep on Fritz at all. And then we got Tiafoe versus Dimitrov, as we've talked about. Dimitrov is a favorite with the Betway odds. He's got more experience, and I think he'll rely on that. So I think I leaned, when the video yesterday, I think I leaned Dimitrov in this matchup, but I'm not confident in it. Tiafoe with the crowd, Tiafoe with the physicality, Tiafoe with the shot making, Tiafoe with the ability to like not get injured in that match. You never know when Dimitrov's body's going to fall apart, unfortunately. But he does have his potential ex-girlfriend in Serena Williams in the crowd, or at least he did in the last round. So that's pretty good. But as you can tell, I'm conflicted about these picks in the quarterfinals on the men's side because they're all super tight matchups. I think the one that has the most air in it is potentially Draper versus de Minaur, but the other 3, it's like super hard to call, especially the Sinner Medvedev. I think they're both fresh, have the ability to play super high level, and it could be an absolute war, or it could be like the highest level match we've seen all year. So that's that. Let's look at the women's quarterfinal draw here. Swiatek comes through today over Samsonova. She'll play Pegula. That's a massive matchup. 2 of the best players on tour, 2 of the most informed players on tour, especially with Pegula. They just played also in I believe Cincinnati. Let me just pull it up here quickly. The last time they played was, that is not true. I thought they played earlier, just a few weeks ago. But regardless, Pegula made it to the semifinals, or to the finals of Toronto, I believe. And she's been playing great on the hard court, and she is a fighter. And I believe she's got, less trepidation about playing Swiatek than obviously on the clay. So she'll have the crowd behind her. We'll see what she can do against Swiatek, but it's not going to be easy, obviously. So that was tough to call. Haddad Maia versus Mukova. I don't really know how to call this one. Mukova just played a great match to come through Paolini. And Haddad Maia maybe has some bad juju around her after not giving the point away on the clear double bounce that the umpire somehow wasn't able to see with video replay. So that's interesting. Badosa Navarro. Badosa through Navarro really impressed me over Coco Gauff. So I think I'm leaning Navarro on that one. But Badosa has been top 10 before, does have it in her to play really well. And she's in the quarterfinals, so she obviously is. And that's going to be a clean hitting, very good match. Again, with an American in there, so the crowd's going to be bucking. And Qinwen Zhang is going to try and take Sabalenka off her horse because I've got Sabalenka as the clear favorite to win. Not clear, but like definitely the leading favorite, in my opinion, to win on the women's side. It's going to be tough for anyone to beat her, I think. So that's a look at the women's side of the draw. Once we get to the semifinals, I think we're going to have a lot more data. The 4th round for both men's and women seemed a little hectic to me. So we're going to see. But we've got amazing matchups. A lot of them are way too close to call. I haven't even really done predictions. But that's all we can do. We can give you our thoughts. We can break it down. That's the slice. Leave your thoughts down below. Let me know what you thought about Sinner versus Tommy Paul tonight, because it was really an interesting match for me and really showed I was able to watch every single point and see the depth of how high of a level Tommy played at, and then how much higher Sinner could take it. And that's going to be scary for the rest of the field. So I think Sinner Medvedev is one of the matchups of the year based on the way they're both playing in this tournament and the conditions. So let's get ready for that. That's going to be incredible. Check out the podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and we will see you next time here on The Slice.